This national news edition originates from VK1WIA and is rebroadcast throughout Australia and around the world under a common licence published on the WIA website. This WIA national news service is copyright to the Wireless Institute of Australia, and rebroadcast is authorised only under the provisions of that common licence. WIA Director and Company Secretary Peter Cleave, VK8ZZ.
From Australia, this is the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
NWIA National News this week. Pete Cherry, VK2LP, the returning officer of the Wireless Institute of Australia. Roger Harrison, VK2ZRH, Editor-in-Chief of Amateur Radio Magazine. And following on from the last few weeks' bios of candidates for this year's WIA AGM election, we hear here from Justin, VK7TW. And the tragic news which swept the airwaves this week, the death of Mobile One's VK4BBX. But wait, there's much, much more in this edition of news from the Wireless Institute of Australia, and it's for week commencing Sunday, February 1, 2026. I'm Editor Graham, VK4BB, and people have often asked me why I became an editor. Well, to cut a long story short,
this is your WIA news. Just the facts.
On behalf of the WIA board, this is WIA Director Lee Moyle, VK3GK. The Ross Hull International Contest Marathon has now finished, and it's time to get your VHF UHF logs submitted. Email your log to rosshull@wia.org.au. Further information and past results can be found on the WIA website. Peter Freeman, VK3PF, is the contest manager. While on VHF UHF, Dr. Kevin Johnston, VK4UH, has submitted claims for distance records. VHF UHF record, WIA Certificate of Achievement for an incredible two-way radio contact between David Minchin, VK5KK, and Ian Crawford, VK5ZD, on the 15th of November 2025, which set a new distance record for home portable, national and VK5 state on the 241 GHz band at a distance of 25 kilometres. The 2026 first edition of Amateur Radio Magazine will be out shortly. Once again, it continues to be on time and full of exceptional content. The editorial team continue to do their best to provide interesting articles to cover a wide range of topics suited to the diverse readership. Now that said, Editor Roger Harrison, VK2ZRH, is always seeking great and informative articles to include in AR Magazine. So put pen to paper or fingers on the keyboard and submit your new project for potential inclusion. The Pubcom are currently in the process of putting together a paper for details on how to prepare and submit articles with good photographs and specifications to help the team get your article in print. This edition of AR Magazine will include details of how to vote for the upcoming WIA election, including the 4 candidates nominated for WIA directorship and their biographies. As a WIA member, it is important to vote for the ongoing success of the WIA, the oldest radio society in the world. As the WIA AGM is only a few months away on the 2nd and 3rd of May 2026, great progress is being made for VK Summit, the event being held in Albury, New South Wales and conducted by the Albury and Wodonga Radio Club. More details on that event can be found on the WIA website. For now, 7-3 from WIA Director Lee Moyle, VK3GK.
As you know, today is the 1st of February 2026, and that means that the election for directors of the WIA is now open. An email with a link to the electronic vote was recently sent to all members who have a valid email address in Memnet. If you did not receive an email, please contact the returning officer via the email returningofficer@nationaloffice.wia.org.au. For those of you who do not have an email address and did not elect to receive a postal vote, that is those members who we have not been able to contact, please contact the WIA office between the hours of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday, Australian Eastern Standard Time, on phone 03-9729-0400. Leave your contact details and the returning officer will be in touch. Good luck to the candidates, who are Chris Dimitrijevic, VK3FY, Klaus Ilhart, VK3IU, Lee Moyle, VK3GK, Justin Giles Clark, VK7TW. The election will close on 28 February 2026, and the results will be communicated after the close in accordance with the WIA election regulations. This announcement has been spoken and authorized by Pete Cherry, VK2LP, the returning officer of the Wireless Institute of Australia.
This is Roger Harrison, VK2ZRH, Editor-in-Chief of Amateur Radio magazine. As many of you will have guessed, I'm here to tell you that the first issue of Amateur Radio magazine for 2026 rolled off the press last Wednesday, as scheduled, never mind the Monday holiday. Our feature this issue is titled Contest Capers. As contesting is a widely popular pastime in the radio amateur community, I'm sure there'll be something of interest to a wide range of readers. Haven't tried it? Time to get on the air and check it out. Like fishing, you never know your luck until you cast a line. What about the social undercurrent about home solar systems easing out the traditional coal-fired power stations? And none too soon by some reports. The next big thing, apparently, is home battery systems, which are being promoted and subsidised by government assistance programs. All well and good, but home batteries also have a role in disasters. How's that? Well, check out our feature article on the subject. From the present to the past, those with an interest in ham radio history, and yes, there are still stories to tell that remain untold. We have part one of a feature on an unexpected subject, the joint development of the WIA and the RAAF's Wireless Reserve. WIA historian Peter Wolverton, VK3RV, tells the intriguing story behind the early days of the RAAF and the WIA, about the key characters involved and the connections between them. Don't forget that there's an election coming up. Yep, under the Institute's constitution, 4 members have stepped up for election to 3 positions on the board for 2026-27. Read all about it in our left-out centre pages this issue. Both electronic and mail voting is available. As always, there's so much more in every edition of Amateur Radio magazine. More guts, less gab. Articles written by Australian amateurs for Australian amateurs and edited by an Australian amateur in Australia. I'm Roger Harrison, VK2ZRH, for VK1WIA News.
VK1WIA.
Justin, VK7 Tango Whiskey. Okay, as many of you know, I've nominated for the WIA board in 2026, and I want to be very clear about what I intend to focus on if I'm elected. First and foremost is implementing a structured, ongoing engagement strategy with the ACMA. The relationship we have between the amateur service and the regulator cannot be ad hoc, reactive, or personality driven. It needs to be deliberate, professional, and continuous. This means regular technical dialogue, evidence-based submissions, and a clear articulation of how amateur radio delivers public benefit, innovation, skills development, and an emergency capability. Engagement with the ACMA is not something we visit every few years when a problem appears. It must be embedded in how the WIA operate. Now, my second priority is creating and implementing a national education, training and assessment strategy for amateur radio. Now that the WIA has an agreement in place with the Radio and Electronics School, we finally have the foundation to do this properly. This is an opportunity to move beyond fragmented state-by-state approaches and build a nationally consistent framework covering foundation through to advanced, assessor development, modern learning materials and clear pathways into the hobby. Education is how we grow numbers, retain members and future-proof amateur radio in Australia. For those who know me, you know I'm not interested in endless discussion papers or ticking boxes. I'm a doer. I like building things, fixing things, and getting outcomes. I've represented amateurs at a national level before, and I'm eager to do it again, with a clear focus on delivery, not rhetoric. If elected, my aim is simple. Strengthen our standing with the regulator, modernise how we bring people into the hobby, and ensure the WIA remains credible, relevant, and effective for the years ahead. If you need to know the other stuff about me, then look on my bio page on the WIA website, my blog, or my LinkedIn pages. 73 Justin, VK7 Tango Whiskey.
Not a sound to be heard. We pause and remember another silent key.
Victor Kilo 4, Bravo, Bravo, X-ray. Two men died in a light plane crash north of the Gold Coast shortly after taking off from a private airstrip at about 6 a.m. on Tuesday last, en route to a small town near Tamworth in VK2. Police have confirmed the 73-year-old pilot from Beenleigh and his male passenger, believed to be from Sydney, died at the scene. They were the only occupants of the plane, which came down shortly after takeoff in bushland in Jacobs Well, near the Heckfield airstrip, and this shortly before 6 a.m. on Tuesday. The pilot, Victor Kilo 4 Bravo Bravo X-Ray, Greg Ackman. Greg was founder of Mobile One Antennas. He built the business from a garage base operation during the 1970s. He became a ham late 2021. VK4BBX was a familiar face in the Australian amateur radio community, often showcasing Mobile One products at field days and events. Vale, Victor Kilo 4 Bravo Bravo X-Ray.
From here, there and everywhere, you've tuned to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now with international news, Jason, VK2LAW.
Hello. Leading international news this week, Belarus threatens ham radio operators with the death penalty. The IRTS, Irish Radio Transmitters Society, are reporting that the Belarusian state authorities have detained over 50 licensed members of BFRR, the Belarusian Federation of Radio Amateurs and Radio Sportsmen. They are accused of treason and espionage and have been paraded on state television. The accusations are that they've used Baofeng radios and consumer-grade SDR dongles to intercept military radio traffic. QSL cards received through the QSL Bureau and logged contacts with operators in Europe or the United States are being presented as clandestine reporting to NATO agents, says the Irish report. At the urging of ARRL, the National Association for Amateur Radio, the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, is expected to exempt radio amateurs from foreign adversary reporting requirements. These rules would have applied to citizens of listed countries, including those living in the United States who hold or are applying for an FCC licence. Foreign adversaries, as defined in the draft, are China, including Hong Kong and Macau, Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Russian Federation, and Venezuelan politician Nicolas Maduro. Vandals strike ham factory. A major act of vandalism has disrupted production and shipping at the Dishtronics, Tentec, Alpha RF Systems factory in Dayton, Ohio. According to company owner Mike Dishop, November 8 Whiskey Foxtrot, a group of thieves destroyed the factory's underground electrical infrastructure in order to steal the copper cable. The thieves extracted approximately 2,000 feet of half-inch copper cable, weighing approximately 2,800 pounds, explained Dishop, with an estimated salvage value of $12,000 and a replacement cost of over $35,000. Dishop told the ARRL letter that power was restored on January 14, a month after the break-in, but explained that this interruption has impacted the timing for everything we had on schedule by at least 3 months due to the loss of time and capital. He says the police investigation is ongoing. US lawmakers in Washington, D.C. have reached a deal that would fund the Voice of America, giving its parent organisation, the US Agency for Global Media, an estimated $653 million. That figure is considerably lower than the annual $860 million provided previously to the agency. As described on the Radio World website, the funds would also pay for restoration and operations for Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, and Radio Free Asia. A minimum of $30 million is earmarked for medium and shortwave programming by the Office of Cuba Broadcasting. The New Zealand Cabinet has made key decisions on the future of AM and FM sound broadcasting licences beyond the expiry of current licences in 2031. Following public consultation in 2025, the New Zealand government has agreed to continue to use the spectrum for AM and FM services for a further 20 years, providing for radio broadcasting through to 2051. Commercial, community and Kiwi broadcasters will continue to have access to radio spectrum. Commercial broadcasters can expect renewal offers in coming months, while non-commercial operators will be engaged well ahead of the expiry of their current licences. The renewal process for community licences will be led by the Ministry for Culture and Heritage. Local commercial FM licences will be offered the opportunity to transition to either a community or commercial licence. For WIA National News in Sydney, I'm Jason, VK2LAW.
We are VK1WIA. Now, operational news with VK4FUQ. Felix.
Hello there. Now, contest-wise 2026. February 7 and 8, 1010 Winter International Winter Contest, SSB, phone. February 21 and 22, ARRLDXCW. March Jock White Memorial Field Day, February 28th, Saturday, 1500 hours to 2400 hours NZDT, and Sunday, March 1, 0600 hours to 1500 hours NZDT. March 7 and 8, ARRLDX SSB. March 15, BERU. March 21 and 22, John Moore Memorial Field Day. And don't forget to read the new rules for 2026. May, Harrow Angel Memorial Sprint, May 2nd. Now let's open the DX window to the world. Chaz, NKAO, is on the air as 5H3DX from Tanzania. Until the 9th of February, operating CW using digital modes on 20 through 10 metres. If conditions permit, it will also be on 6 metres. ZL100C is a call sign celebrating the centenary of NZART, the New Zealand Association of Radio Transmitters, which was formed on the 16th of August 1926. The call sign is valid until the 6th of August 2026. QSL via the Bureau and LOTW. Listen for Aldeer, PY1 SAD on the air through to the 23rd of February as 8R1 TM from Guyana. He is using CW, SSB and digital modes on 160 to 6 metres. He is also operating via satellite during the week from 23 hours to 03 hours UTC and more frequently during the weekends. Miguel will be active as OX7AKT from Greenland 10 to 17 February 2026. May be a good time to get Greenland in the log whilst it is still an entity. Tom VK2 TBC will be active as VK0 TBC from Casey Station, Antarctica between February and December. He will operate SSB and FT8. Established in 1947, the British Faraday Antarctic Station was transferred to Ukraine ownership in February 1996 and renamed Akademik Vernadsky. Celebrating this 30th anniversary, 5 special call signs will be active from 1 February now until 1 March. Look for the EM30 prefixes on air. For WIA National News, I'm Felix, VK4FUQ in Ingham.
From here, there and everywhere, you tune to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now, special interest group news.
Hi, I'm Graham, VK3GRK from very warm and sunny Bendigo. Worldwide special interest groups, astronomy and wireless weather. Earth hit by biggest solar radiation storm in 23 years. Reports now being calculated suggest Earth's magnetic field was struck by a severe solar storm on January 19th, triggering vibrant auroras in the US and large parts of Europe. The storm broke a record that had stood for more than 2 decades. A severe and record-breaking geomagnetic storm rocked Earth's magnetic shield last night, shortly after the Sun unleashed a powerful X-class solar flare. The epic event, triggered by a stream of superfast solar particles, painted widespread auroras at unusually low latitudes across the northern hemisphere, particularly in Europe. The storm severity, which exceeded that of the one in October of 2023, disrupted the HF bands, challenging ham radio operators while creating spectacular auroral displays. Worldwide Special Interest Groups News, Summits on the Air, Worldwide Flora, Fauna Program, Parks on the Air and other adventure groups. Remember this URL, spottedham.com. A new web-based tool for the amateur radio community, spottedham.com, has launched to provide hams with a more granular way to monitor the bands. Unlike traditional clusters, Spotted Ham allows users to create custom watch lists for specific call signs, POTA, Parks on the Air, references, or specific bands and modes. The system monitors live spotting data and sends an immediate email notification to the user the moment a match is found. This is particularly useful for operators chasing specific park references or monitoring the activity of friends and local club members. Developer Robert Campbell, Kilo Mike 6 Hotel Bravo Hotel, designed the tool to be mobile first, ensuring that activators in the field and operators in the shack have a clean, clutter-free interface. The service is currently free to use and supports global spotting data. Interested operators can find the live spotting table, an easy way to spot themselves, and sign up for alerts on spottedham.com. Worldwide Special Interest Groups Digital. The Alberta Digital Radio Society is pleased to announce that it has chosen orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, or OFDM, as the modulation method for the enhanced data mode on its IP400 supernode. This mode will enable higher data rates than have previously been achieved with conventional FM radios, says Martin Orcock, Victor Echo 6 Victor Hotel, founder of the IP400 project, who goes on to say, and it will provide us with the ability to extend the network to a mobile station on a conventional repeater, which can be in either the 2 metre, 220, 440 and 900 bands, and with no radio modifications required. The goals of the IP400 project are not only to implement a higher speed mesh network on the 400 MHz band, but also to breathe new life into analog repeaters with a simple data upgrade, which will result in the addition of 3 modes: a 4FSK compatible mode on 400 MHz, a high-speed OFDM mode at 2.39 GHz for linking and backbone purposes, and a slower audio band OFDM mode that is designed to work with existing VHF and UHF radios. Worldwide Special Interest Groups Final Frontier. NASA has selected 34 global volunteers to track the Orion spacecraft during the crewed Artemis II mission's journey around the Moon. While NASA's Near Space Network and Deep Space Network, coordinated by the agency's SCAN, Space Communication and Navigation program, will provide primary communications and tracking services to support Orion's launch, journey around the Moon and return to Earth, participants selected from a request for proposals published in August 2025, comprised of established commercial service providers, members of academia and individual amateur radio enthusiasts, will use their respective equipment to passively track radio waves transmitted by Orion during its approximately 10-day journey. Last year, the US Space Agency asked hams with the necessary capabilities to observe the Doppler shift on the spacecraft's S-band return link carrier signal. The spacecraft's S-band range is between 2,200 and 2,290 MHz. Volunteers will not be transmitting or uplinking signals. Artemis II mission crew enters quarantine before flying to the Moon. The astronauts' quarantine began on January 23rd. This period, officially called the Health Stabilisation Program, usually begins about 14 days before launch. During this time, astronauts minimise their contact with other people. This is necessary to rule out the possibility of illnesses that could delay their mission or develop during the flight. At this time, NASA has not yet set an official launch date for Artemis II, as testing of the rocket and spacecraft continues. Starting quarantine now allows for flexibility. Depending on the results of the launch dress rehearsal or other operational considerations, the crew may exit quarantine and return to it 14 days before any date. The crew began quarantine in Houston. If preparations for launch proceed successfully, they will fly to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida approximately 6 days before launch, where they will stay in special accommodations. During quarantine, the crew will be able to continue communicating regularly with friends, family and colleagues who are complying with quarantine rules and will avoid public places, wear masks and maintain distance from other people with whom they come into contact, while continuing their latest training and medical examinations. Worldwide, special interest groups, radio amateur old-timers and young-timers. It's to VK7 first up.
Hello everyone, this is Peter, VK7PD, reminding you that tomorrow is the first Monday of the month. Time for the Radio Amateurs Old Timers Club of Australia's February Bulletin to go to air. This month, as well as the latest club news, we'll deviate from an historic article and have a look at where developments were in battery technology as it was 12 years ago. Both of these articles were first broadcast in March 2014. The first is read by Clive, VK6CSW. This is followed by a second article on the same theme by Ian, VK3JS, with further discussion on developments made at the time by Swedish manufacturer Volvo. Everyone, RAOTC members and non-members alike, is most welcome to listen to the program and join in the callbacks afterwards. Full details of all transmissions, times and modes can be found on the RAOTC website at www.raotc.org.au or just Google RAOTC broadcasts. If none of the transmission times suit you, you can download the audio file at any time from today from the club's website. Once again, tune in tomorrow for the February RAOTC Bulletin. Enjoy the program and please join in the callbacks afterwards. 73 from Peter, VK7PD.
Last week, I spoke to you about the AAC Headland Capability Futures Program drone camps in Adelaide. Well, the 3 camps now have wrapped up. Over the 5-day camps, cadets and staff learned how to build, program and operate 5-inch racing drones. They also heard from local defense industry group presentations discussing future opportunities and capabilities they offered to the ADF. A special shout out went to a newly promoted cadet, Joey Huang, who received a specially signed promotion certificate from AAC Commander Brigadier David McCammon, DSC, and BAR. Cadet Huang is a member of the AAC Drone Racing Cadet Instructional Team, where he has been supporting drone familiarization training for Australian Defence Force members. During that time, he demonstrated outstanding leadership and shared his knowledge to help enhance understanding and capability of drone racing in preparation for airshows and UAS events. For WIA National News, I am Alan, VK2COD in Sydney.
Thanks, guys, and thank you, the listener and viewer, for joining us this week.
It's a date. Remember, clubs are welcome to email text with audio for this section, nationalnews@wia.org.au. We have in VK6 Pargfest. Pargfest happens at the Mandurah Bowling Club next weekend, February 7 from 9 a.m. And in VK4, Redfest, Deception Bay North State School, 9 a.m, April 11.
Greetings from the Redcliffe and Districts Radio Club, VK4RC. Robert Thompson, VK4TFN here. Redfest 26, Digital Communications, 11th April 2026. John Saunders, VK4BZ, reports in our January QTC newsletter that organisation of Redfest 26 is proceeding apace. Our redfest.org website is almost completed. He has confirmed that we will raffle an IC 7300 Mark II. The ladies from Alara have booked a table. There will be 5 specialty vendors, also commercial radio and electronic vendors. The Coaxial Cafe team is organised. Tech Talk speakers are being lined up. Peter, VK4TAA, will have several tables full of pre-loved techno goodies. Stay tuned for further updates and don't be afraid to go and visit our redfest.org website. Come along and join in the fun. Thank you, and 73s from the Redcliffe and Districts Radio Club, VK4RC.
And for all of VK, WIA, AGM happens May 2 at 2 p.m, Albury and VK2. This couples with the ICOM VK Summit 2026 on May 2 and 3. Now, until next we meet, I am Graham, I am VK4BB. Walk softly.
From Australia, this has been the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
Courtesy of Bevan, VK5BD's ATV and YouTube channel, this has been WIA National News. We're back now, live and local, and your voice, your callbacks. And don't forget, tick like.
This is VK3OTN, the official station of the Radio Amateurs Old Timers Club of Australia, with this month's news and information bulletin for members and friends of the club for February 2026. I am Andrew, a VK3 Charlie Alpha Hotel. Details on when to hear the news and information bulletins are available at the club's website, www.raotc.org.au. VK3OTN is available on a wide range of radio platforms, HF, VHF and UHF, along with 2 metre repeaters, amateur television, DMR, that is digital mobile radio, and D-Star. These news broadcasts are available for download for up to 6 months, just in case you missed the original news broadcast from the RAOTC website. Just put RAOTC into your favourite search engine. If you'd like to contact the club, then why not send us an email? Our address is raotc@raotc.org.au. I hope you enjoyed this month's news broadcast. Here's the latest round of club news for February 2026. I trust everyone is fully refreshed and hopefully recovered after what is oftentimes a rather hectic period in late December and January. Also, let's hope these extreme weather events aren't impacting on you too harshly. Heat waves and bushfires here, cyclones, torrential raining, flooding at the other end of the country, the list goes on and on. Having moved to Melbourne some 45 years ago from Sydney, in hindsight, the weather here in Melbourne doesn't seem to be all that bad. I think we've all seen pretty much all the weather events on offer by Mother Nature over the last month in various parts of Australia. As usual, we're always looking for articles to publish in OTN, and what got members interested in radio and amateur radio, and hear about their experiences. Articles about any topic that our members would find interesting are always welcome, especially articles of a technical nature. Our members have many varied interests. At the most recent committee meeting held in November, it was agreed to move the time for the meetings to 4 p.m. local Melbourne time, and this would allow members outside the southeastern states to attend in the afternoon in their respective time zones. This will hopefully encourage members in other states to join in and help out on committee in whatever way they may feel they have something to offer. If you can only do a little bit, then that's fine. Remember, many hands make light work. I don't put my hand up and offer for extra responsibilities unless I've got the time and the interest. I recall some years ago I was at one of the Melbourne luncheons at the Bentley Club and was approached by one member who inquired if I was on the ROTC committee. And he then suggested that in order to ease the burden of travel from one side of the city to the other, committee should endeavour to organise luncheons in various venues all over Melbourne. He was adamant that since I was a committee, I should take his suggestion very seriously. It was obvious that in his opinion, I had nothing better to do with my time and should take up his suggestion at the next committee meeting. I suggested he join the committee and take up his idea, where he quickly declined. Wrong. It doesn't work quite that way. Nonetheless, he tried the same tactic with Bruce Baffle some years later, there being not a single finger lifted to offer any sort of help. I recall that Bruce's reply was, "We'll look into it." The subject was never raised again. Bruce was a very articulate politician. With the demise of the Bentley Club and having moved to the new venue of the Caulfield RSL, one would be very hard pressed to find a location that is more centrally located
and so easy to access via public transport 200 metres from the Elstonwick railway station. Or get out at the Glen Huntly station and take a number 67 tram along Glen Huntly Road. Trams and trains these days display and usually announce each stop as they approach them. The total cost of a trip from anywhere in Melbourne, using a bus or train trip or two, is no more than $2.85 for a senior's fare, which includes the New Year's price rises in public transport. If you're over 60 and haven't got a Seniors MyKey transport card yet, just turn up at your local railway station with a seniors card and the friendliest staff will be happy to set you up with one. It's as easy as falling off a log. Public transport really has come a long way since I regularly used it some 40 years ago. The only thing that grates me is that each state uses a different system. It is expected that OTN will be posted out in the second week of February 2026. Please check your cover sheets as they show if your subscription is due or has run out. Don't just rip open the OTN and discard the cover sheets. You'll also need it for your own personalised code if you decide to get your own digital copy of OTN, all in living colour, from the club's website. The subscription charges cover the cost of printing and mailing out of the club's journal, Old Timers News or OTN. Also in the March 2026 OTN edition for many members in the Greater Melbourne area will be the details of the upcoming Melbourne Luncheon, which will be held at the Caulfield RSL, just a short walk from the Elstonwick railway station. The March Luncheon will be held on Thursday the 26th of March, convening at 12 midday to enable a 12:30 start. Bookings are essential and full details will be available at the club's website when they come to hand, as well as in OTN. In the December broadcast, I drew to your attention the issue of needing to plan ahead. I relate a short story that was told to me by a fellow amateur. It goes along these lines. His mother-in-law passed away, and they had to go and sort out her personal effects and all the hundreds of little things that needed to be attended to. Before I go on, most amateurs will agree that in its day, Collins was the bee's knees in amateur radio equipment. Now, back to the story. Cleaning out the home was one of the activities. This lady prided herself and her culinary skills in the kitchen and had spent a considerable amount of money over many years on a very comprehensive suite of Tupperware brand kitchen equipment, probably costing originally several thousands of dollars. Tupperware in its days was the ants pants in kitchenware, probably equivalent to the Collins S line of equipment in the 1960s and 70s, if one wanted to compare it to radio gear. Yasu and Kenwood were all new on the block and considered at the time cheap and nasty bits of junk. Anyway, this family had no real idea of the value of this Tupperware collection, so instead of donating it to an opportunity or thrift shop where people would jump at the chance to own this gear, it went straight to landfill. And this is pretty much where all your radio equipment will end up if you haven't given it any further thought to the matter. The takeaway from this is either join a local radio club or get involved with a trusted friend who is also known to the family. New members and silent keys. I'm not aware of any new members at this moment in time, but the really good news is the membership officer has not been advised of any silent keys. Finally, members are reminded the very latest club news is available via the ROTC website. Put RAOTC into your favourite search engine to find it.
You are listening to VK3OTN and associated relay stations. VK3OTN is the official station of the Radio Amateurs Old Timers Club Australia Incorporated, with the monthly news and information bulletin for members and friends of the club.
In this month's broadcast, we'll deviate from an historical article and have a look at where developments were in battery technology as it was 12 years ago. Both of these articles were first broadcast in March 2014 with an introduction by our long-time OTN editor, Bill Raper of VK3BR. We have two articles. The first is read by Clive, a VK6 CSW, and this is followed by a second article on the same theme by Ian, a VK3 JS, with a further discussion on developments made at the time by Swedish manufacturer Volvo.
And now, over to Clive, VK6 CSW.
This month, instead of our usual historical feature, we're looking at some of the latest and rather unusual developments in battery technology. The following three items were sent in by Ron Cook, VK3AFW, RAOTC member number 824, and each comes from Electronics Online. The first item is edited from Electronics Online for June 2013 and is entitled "A Battery Made Out of Wood." A sliver of wood coated with tin could make a tiny, long-lasting, efficient and environmentally friendly battery, according to researchers at the University of Maryland in the USA. But don't try it at home yet. The components in the battery tested by the Maryland scientists are 1,000 times thinner than a piece of paper. It uses sodium instead of lithium, which is the favoured material in rechargeable batteries. It's said to make the battery environmentally benign. However, as sodium doesn't store energy as efficiently as lithium, it's not suitable for use in mobile phones, but it could be used to store huge amounts of energy in fixed locations, such as at solar energy power plants. Existing batteries are often created on stiff bases, which are too brittle to withstand the swelling and shrinking that happens as electrons are stored in and used up from the battery. The Maryland team found that wood fibres are supple enough to let their sodium-ion battery last more than 400 charging cycles, which puts it amongst the longest-lasting nano batteries. The inspiration behind the idea comes from the trees, said Liang Bing Hu, Assistant Professor, Department of Materials Science and Engineering at the University of Maryland. He continued, "Wood fibres that make up a tree once held mineral-rich water, and so are ideal for storing liquid electrolytes, making them not only the base, but an effective part of the battery." Lead author Hongli Zhu and other team members noticed that after charging and discharging the battery hundreds of times, the wood ended up wrinkled but intact. Computer models showed that the wrinkles effectively relax the stress in the battery during charging and recharging, so the battery can survive many cycles. Pushing sodium ions through tin anodes often weaken the tin's connections to its base material, said Lee, Associate Professor of Mechanical Engineering. But the wood fibres are soft enough to serve as a mechanical buffer, and thus can accommodate the tin's changes. This is the key to our long-lasting sodium-ion batteries. The team's research was supported by the University of Maryland and the US National Science Foundation. The next news item about battery-related matters is entitled "Stanford Scientists Develop Microbial Battery," and this comes from Electronics Online for September 2013. Stanford researchers have developed a microbial battery that generates electricity from sewerage, using naturally occluding wire microbes as the mini power plants producing electricity as they digest plant and animal waste. Over the last dozen years or so, several research groups have tried various ways to use these microbes as biogenerators, but tapping this energy efficiently has proved challenging. What is new about the microbial battery is a simple yet efficient design that puts these exoelectrogenic bacteria to work. At the battery's negative electrode, colonies of wired microbes cling to carbon filaments that serve as efficient electrical conductors. Using a scanning electron microscope, the Stanford team captured images of these microbes attaching milky tendrils to the carbon filaments. The researchers' findings by co-authors E. Choi, a materials scientist, Craig Criddle, an environmental engineer, and Xing Shi, an interdisciplinary researcher, have been published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences Journal. You can see that the microbes make nanowires to dump off their excess electrons, Criddle said. To put the images into perspective, about 100 of these microbes could fit side by side into the width of a human hair. As these microbes ingest organic matter and convert it into biological fuel, their excess electrons flow into the carbon filaments and across to the positive electrode, which is made of silver oxide, a material that attracts electrons. The electrons flowing to the positive node gradually reduce the silver oxide to silver, storing the spare electrons in the process. According to Shi, after a day or so, the positive electrode has absorbed a full load of electrons and has largely been converted into silver. At this point, it's removed from the battery and re-oxidized back to silver oxide, releasing the stored electrons. The Stanford engineers estimate that the microbial battery can extract about 30% of the potential energy locked up in wastewater. That's roughly the same efficiency at which the best commercially available solar cells convert sunlight into electricity. Of course, there's far less energy potential in wastewater. Even so, the inventors say the microbial battery is worth pursuing because it could offset some of the electricity now used to treat wastewater. That use currently accounts for about 3% of the total electrical load in developed nations. Most of this electricity goes towards pumping air into wastewater at conventional treatment plants where ordinary bacteria use oxygen in the course of digestion, just as humans and other animals do. Looking ahead, the Stanford engineers say their biggest challenge will be finding a cheap but efficient material for the positive node. We demonstrated the principle using silver oxide, but silver is too expensive for use at large scale, said Choi, an associate professor of materials science and engineering. Though the research is underway for a more practical material, finding a substitute will take time. Researchers hope the battery will be used in places such as sewage treatment plants or to break down organic pollutants in the dead zones of lakes and coastal waters where fertilizer runoff and other organic waste can deplete oxygen levels and suffocate marine life. At the moment, however, their laboratory prototype is about the size of a D-cell battery and looks like a chemistry experiment. The two electrodes, one positive, the other negative, plunged into a bottle of waste water. Inside that murky vial, attached to the negative electrode like barnacles to a ship's hull, an unusual type of bacteria feasts on particles of organic waste and produces electricity that's captured by the battery's positive electrode. We call it fishing for electrons, said Criddle, a professor in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. The third battery-related news item actually describes a technology that works without batteries by extracting energy from existing radio signals. It also comes from Electronics Online, this time in August 2013, and is entitled Battery-Free Wireless Devices. University of Washington engineers have created a new wireless communication system that allows devices to interact with each other without relying on batteries or wires for power. The devices exchange information by reflecting or absorbing pre-existing radio signals. The new communication technique, which the researchers call ambient backscatter, takes advantage of the TV and cellular transmissions that already surround us around the clock. The researchers built small, battery-free devices with antennas that can detect, harness and reflect a TV signal, which is then picked up by other similar devices. The technology could enable a network of devices and sensors to communicate with no internal power source or human attention. Using ambient backscatter, these devices can interact with users and communicate with each other without using batteries. They exchange information by reflecting or absorbing pre-existing radio signals. We can repurpose wireless signals that are already around us into both a source of power and a communication medium, said lead researcher Shyam Golakota, a University of Washington Assistant Professor of Computer Science and Engineering. It's hopefully going to have applications in a number of areas, including wearable computing, smart homes, and self-sustaining sensor networks. You can reflect these signals slightly to create a Morse code of communication between battery-free devices, said co-author Joshua Smith, a University of Washington Associate Professor of Computer Science and Engineering and also an Associate Professor of Electrical Engineering. Everyday objects could be enabled with battery-free tags to communicate with each other. A couch could use ambient backscatter to let the user know where his keys were left. Smart sensors could be built and placed permanently inside any structure, then set to communicate with each other. The researchers tested the ambient backscatter technique with credit card-sized prototype devices placed within several feet of each other. For each device, the researchers built antennas into ordinary circuit boards that flash an LED when receiving a communication signal from another device. Researchers demonstrate how one payment card can transfer funds to another card by leveraging the existing wireless signals around them. Ambient RF signals are both the power source and the communication medium. The applications are endless, the researchers say, and they plan to continue advancing the capacity and range of the ambient backscatter communication network. And once again, thanks to Ron, VK3AFW, for providing these news items.
Thank you, Clive.
You are listening to VK3OTN. VK3OTN is the official station of the Radio Amateur Oldtimers Club, Australia, Incorporated, with the monthly news and information bulletin for members and friends of the club.
And for more on the same theme of batteries, over to Ian, VK3JS.
This is an Into the Future type article, which some of you may have seen in print and which I hope will be of interest to us all. It comes from the Melbourne Herald Sun Cars Guide of Friday, October the 25th, 2013, and is entitled Sandwich is Current Favourite. Carbon fibre batteries in body panels are on the menu for Volvos. The article is by Craig Duff, a motoring writer. A car's bodywork could soon double as its battery. Slimline panels on a Volvo S80 prototype are already being used to power the car's electrics in place of conventional cells. The Swedish maker says the panels can also be used in electric and hybrid vehicles. It claims a theoretical range of 130 kilometres for an electric vehicle with carbon fibre battery panels on the roof, bonnet and doors. Building a complete Volvo from the carbon fibre battery panels will trim weight by about 15% and be more environmentally friendly. The material has been patented by the Imperial College of London, and Volvo was among a group of 9 companies joining a 3-year project to develop applications for the lightweight batteries. The carbon fibre sandwiches, nano batteries and superchargers. College scientists say it can be used in mobile phone cases, replacing the battery and drastically reducing thickness, and portable sat-nav devices. Volvo has tested a boot lid and plenum cover on its range-topping S80 sedan. The boot lid is used to store current, and Volvo says it could replace the standard batteries seen in today's cars. The plenum, the vent panel at the base of the windscreen, is more adventurous, combining the structural properties of carbon fibre while using the inbuilt electrics to power the engine stop-start. The sandwich can mould into virtually any shape, and it connects conventionally to an electric motor. Recharging is by brake energy regeneration or by plugging into a mains electrical grid. Volvo says the material charges faster than conventional batteries. The maker has committed to researching innovative ways to add electric cars to its lineup.
Thank you, Ian.
OTN on disc. Are you aware that the entire collection of OTN is available on disc, delivered right to your door for the minimal cost of $25? The files are all in a portable document format or PDF and can be viewed on any tablet or desktop PC. As time moves on, you've probably noticed that over the years you tend to hoard a few things. When something new arrives home, you have to find room to keep it. Well, why not consider adding the entire collection of OTN? The really good news is, it won't take up any space at all, and it won't provide any food for the silverfish, if you're plagued by them. There is another advantage that might not be quite so evident. The files are pretty much the same as what goes off to the printer twice a year. As time moves on, many readers realise their eyes aren't as young as they used to be. Viewing articles on a 22-inch screen is a whole lot easier. You can zoom right in and have one whole column on the screen at a time. Like online newspapers, it's not quite the same as a printed copy, but the advantage is you don't have to worry about where you're going to keep the things. Further details of how to order OTN on disc is available from the RAOTC website, www.raotc.org.au. This is Andrew, VK3CAH. Perth Luncheons. The popular and well-attended monthly luncheon for RAOTC members and friends in and around Perth are held on the second Tuesday of each month. The 7 Mile Bar and Bistro is at 501 Wanneroo Road, Balcatta. Their website can easily be found by googling 7 Mile Bar and Bistro. In addition to the main menu, a seniors menu is also available. There is ample parking available in the adjacent car park. The venue is located on Wanneroo Road near the Reed Highway intersection and is readily accessible with car parking available. Since Wanneroo Road is a main thoroughfare for the northern suburbs, public transport via bus is also a viable alternative. The appropriate route and timetable information can be accessed from the Transperth website. A copy of the URL is located on our website. Alasdair, VK6ATX, is coordinating the lunch, and it would be appreciated if Alasdair could be notified of those planning to attend to ensure that adequate seating is provided. We look forward to seeing many of you at the RAOTC luncheon. Alasdair's email address is vk6kif@bigpond.com. I'll repeat that. Victor Kilo 6 Kilo India Foxtrot @bigpond.com.
You are listening to VK3OTN and associated relay stations. VK3OTN is the official station of the Radio Amateurs Old Timers Club, Australia Incorporated, with a monthly news and information bulletin for members and friends of the club.
In keeping with tradition, we'll end this broadcast with a short, humorous story. So here's this month's offering entitled Asking Directions. A man and woman were married for many years. Whenever there was a confrontation, yelling could be heard deep into the night. The old man would shout, "When I die, I will dig my way up and out of the grave and come back and haunt you for the rest of your life." Neighbours feared him. The old man liked the fact that he was feared. Then one evening, he died when he was 98. After the funeral, her neighbours, concerned for her safety, asked, "Aren't you afraid that indeed he may be able to dig his way out of the grave and haunt you for the rest of your life?" The wife said, "Let him dig. I had him buried upside down. I don't know, he won't ask for directions."
You have been listening to VK30TN. VK30TN is the official station of the Radio Amateurs Old Timers Club, Australia. This concludes this month's news and information bulletin. The next RAOTC news and information broadcast will take place on the first Monday of next month, on the same frequencies, and at the same times as today, with the exception of January. Thanks for being with us, and we hope you will join in the callbacks, where callbacks are taken. 73 everyone.